Okay, no problem. I go and fight another guy, less than 3 months later, where I wound up fighting him, and they stopped the fight in the middle of the action. And I was like, wait a second, why is this? So anyway, long story short, I wound up having a record of like 15-3 with 8 knockouts. I think that's, if I remember correctly, my wife, God bless her, my princess, she keeps record for me, and she's my brain basically when when I need to know, hey, who the, in 2001 and so on and so forth, and she'll tell me, rattle it off to me. And I'm like, that's it, that's right. I mean,
that's your tag team partner.
Yeah, exactly. I've had, over 55 professional fights, so it's hard to remember each individual fight, but there are some that I remember like they were yesterday because they were just some really good fights that, just stuck with me,
You know what you said about boxing and what happened to you? I mean, I think that's why a lot of people gravitating away from and to mixed martial arts, because there's no, when you get in that octagon, you get in that ring, there's no, I mean, there's only you and the other person, that's it.
Right.
I mean, you do what you need to do. There's no stopping of the fight. I mean, and you tap out unless you're knocked out.
Stopping of the fight. You're tapping out or you got knocked out.
Yeah, it was one of the two. It's not, you got a little cut and you can't stop because you're worried about your safety. Yeah, well, I mean, anyone that's been in boxing, I've been in boxing, and the younger guys coming up, the promoters, they need to make their scratch, so they want to go and boost them up. And it sucks because it becomes political, and I understand that. But
so that's what happened to me. Yeah. It's, if you had 10 more years in you, I could promote you, and I could make my money back. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't have 10 more years to fight. I'm 41. Now I'm going to be 42. So anywye,
but you know what?
I retired one thing at the top of my game, and that's what my wife Dina said. Yeah. She says, babe, I don't want you to go out like one of those guys that they go to defend their title, they lose it, and then they got to keep fighting, trying to regain it. She says, retire when you're on top of the game, and run your own fitness center.
She's smart. She's a smart woman because I mean.
Well, that's why I'm married to her for 16 years now.
That's good, man. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, I think I mean, yeah, she's right. You did, you accomplished things that only some people hope to accomplish in kickboxing, boxing, martial arts. I mean, you did it all. I mean, think about it. You boast a career of 32 wins in kickboxing, 3 losses. You had 1 draw. That's your record.
Yeah.
You had 29 straight victories. 29. Okay, and I mean, you knocked people out. I mean, how does it feel to have made your mark in the world of not only kickboxing and boxing, but martial arts history? I mean, that's amazing to me.
Well, I just, I do what I do, and I love what I do. And I think, that's the most important thing that, that shows when I'm in the gym training with my clients is that, I love what I do, and, I'm very humble about what I've done. Yeah. If you ask anybody about Olando Rivera, they'll tell you, he's calm, cool, collected, and he never brags about himself. That's me. I always tell people, if you want to know about me, Google search me. Go online, check me out. And my wife's like, stop being so humble. She's like, you need to tell people about yourself because they won't know if you don't tell them. And I'm like, well, that's why I just tell them to Google search me or look at my resume online, because I just, that's the way I was raised, never brag or boast about yourself.
Well,
because, at the end, the true warrior that you are will, be visible to all that seek you.
That's true. But I'll tell you this much:
that's how I live my life.
Hey, you're not one to brag about yourself, and I witnessed that firsthand, and I was impressed by your humble standing. But I'm gonna brag about you because you are the man. When dude, kickboxing, boxing, you've done so much, and you set an example for kids, not only in Tampa, not only in the United States, but worldwide, that they can wake up and they can go. They don't have to sit and say, oh, well, I'm just going to take a class and I can't achieve certain things. Yeah, they can. Even at 37, you achieved something major. How many people can say that? I mean, it's not an age thing; it's a desire thing.
Exactly.
You know, and
that's truly the bottom line. Age is just a number. It's just a matter of your heart and your desire to want to get it done. If you want to do something, you know, my message to anybody who's listening is, if you want to get something done, you got to just get out there and just give it your all. Because if you don't give it your all and give it 110%, you'll never know. You know, you'll be sitting there saying, I wonder if I would have, should have, could have.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I'll never have to say about myself. You know, I said I did it. You know, I gave it my best, and, you know, same thing with the boxing. You know, I did it, I gave my best. You know what? It wasn't in my cards to have a world title as a boxer. I wanted to be the first Latin American to unify both the world title in boxing as well as kickboxing. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, you know what? Now I'm becoming South Tampa's, you know, best martial arts kickboxing trainer right now in South Tampa. That's my new goal.
But I think you're beyond South Tampa, you know, and I think that, you know, people, I know you're so humble, but people that don't realize what you've accomplished, you made your mark in history, not just, oh, well, I did something this year. You made your mark in history. This is something that's going to be for all time. You know, when we're dead and gone, this is going to be in the record books, period, the end. Can't change that. Okay, and you
thank you.
Yeah, you can't do it, and that's fantastic. But I want to touch on something else. You're also a celebrity trainer, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about, tell us some of the celebrities that you have trained, and in what aspect did you train them?
Wow.
Well, you can talk about one or two.
You got about 45 minutes.
I don't think so, because you have a class in about half.
Yeah, I know. I got a class in a little bit. Wow. I train different celebrity athletes, you know, from speaking of just currently here in Tampa, you know, lineman, Luke Pettigrew, you know, he's one of the guys that I train on like a 2-day-a-week basis, him and his wife, and they come in, they train with me, they get to train like a fighter without having to fight, you know, and that's what I love about my training. You know, it gets everybody in the best physical shape that they could be in, like, because they're training just like I would train for a fight, but without, you know, them getting all the head trauma. You know,
that's
you know,
not a good
guys
thing.
like,
that hurts.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely hurts. You know, then I've got who else is another lineman that is now a big time attorney here in Tampa, which is Brad Culpepper. He's another big name here in South Tampa that, you know, I work with, and, you know, he's like a brother from another mother, because that man, he comes in, he's like a workhorse. When he gets in here, he'll tell me, all right, let's do this, and, you know, I'll join in with him, and we'll just go, you know, punch for punch, kick for kick, and he's a great all around guy. And you know, I train some R&B artists, you know, like Calvin Richardson was one of them. He's an R&B singer that I trained. I worked with Wesley Snipes at his house in Manhattan, and haven't seen him in a minute, but you know, he's another good guy that I know if I seen him in the street, you know, like I seen him at the Expo a couple years ago, and, you know, he just came up to me with his bodyguards, and he was like, hey, gave me a big hug, and it was, you know, a nice reception from him.
Right.
You know, I could just go on naming names right now.
But you're not one to name names, so I'm not going to even push you to do that anymore.
I'm not a big name shouter out of, you know.
Well, I'm gonna put the brakes on that, because I don't want you to go and do that, because that's out of your realm. But I just want to let everybody know that. No problem. I want everybody to know that you when it comes to training, that your training is different than most others. It's maybe a little unorthodox, but effective. And you know, you bring people to you allow them to bring the best out in them. Now, can you tell us what you're doing now? I mean, are you still competing at all, or is that shelved?
No. What I've done is I've taken off my warrior hat, and I put on